So today we're going to make an arrangement without using a hand tie method. What we're going to use is we're going to use sellotape. Now quite often when I'm in the shop we try not to use Oasis too much, and there are some arrangements which are so big that you can't really turn them into a hand tie, because you use 50, 60, 70 quid's worth of flour. So what we usually use in the shop is we use pot tape, which is a special tape which sticks to glass and ceramics. But I've been experimenting and you can actually use sellotape. So let me show you. I'm using this jug because it's a bit of an awkward shape and it will use shed loads of flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some sellotape across the jug like that. Turn that bit off there. Make sure the jug's really dry, or whatever container. It is great actually in glass vases, especially if you use sellotape because you can't see the mechanics. Just find the end of the sellotape. Stick the sellotape down. So what we're doing is we're creating a grid pattern. Stick the sellotape down there. This is an old jug. I use this one outside because it's got no handle. It's kind of broke. Nothing to do with Becky for once. Usually breaks everything. And another one there. So what I've done, I'll show you, is I've created a grid. Okay, now what I then do is I just go and get thumb and forefinger and just pinch it together so you haven't got the two sticky sides of creating a thin trail. There we are. Now in the old days, what I used to do is used to go and get a bit of chicken wire. I used to put it in the middle and use that to pop the flowers in. But now we've got sellotape, I find this much easier. And as well as that, it's not so obtrusive. And the thing about chicken wire is it can kind of harbour germs. You know, if you reuse it several times, it's a bit rusty, and I just can't be bothered. Anyway, there we go. We've got a grid pattern. Now, what I'm going to do is I've already filled this up with water. But we always say to everyone, you must use flour food if you can. Obviously, not everyone can at the moment because florists aren't open and supermarkets aren't selling quite so much flour as they did. So you can make it yourself. Now the reason why we use flour food, is several reasons. First thing is, as soon as you cut flour, it starts losing nutrition. So what we do to replace that is I'm going to use 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar in about a litre and a half of water there. Okay, so that's going to go and give the flowers the nutrition that they're not going to get from the soil. Give that a bit of a stir. And then the problem is, that's great, the flour can eat, but the sugar's going to create a perfect environment for bacteria to spread. So what I do is, I put about 4 little drops of bleach. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the bleach will go and kill the bacteria. So on to the exciting bit. Now, all these flowers and foliages I kind of harvested from the garden first thing in the morning, about kind of 8 o'clock, and they've had a really good soak and a good drink in water. So this big bucket here is about up to there in water. Now, what I've done is several flowers use different methods of what we call conditioning. And all conditioning means is a method of making sure that the flowers stay as long as possible. So what we've got here, we've got hellebore. What I do with hellebore is I cut it at an angle, pop it in nearly boiling water for about 5 seconds, take it out and then put it in a bucket of water. Now I take all the foliage off, or as much foliage as I can. First of all, it's because if it's under the waterline, bacteria will spread, and secondly, it's going to take up precious nutrients. So, got my hellebore, cut it at an angle to make sure that the flower head can take up as much nutrient as possible. Idris Elba again. And I'm popping in my vase. I'll do this one here as well. And I'm popping it in between the grid that we made out of sellotape. And once again, the reason why I do that is it kind of acts as a way of holding the flower in together. That one's a bit bent, so I'll do that better. Next one, I've got some fennel from the garden. I love fennel, it smells absolutely fantastic. And once again, what I do is this, when I cut it, when I crop it, I cut it, put it in loads and loads of water until I'm ready to use it. I'm just going to pop that there. I tend to work on getting a framework of foliages first, and it's easier to work out what space you have. Everything I do, I cut on an angle. So it's going to be very country. I think all of this is in my garden. So if it's in my garden, it's going to be in everybody else's. Now the next thing I'm going to add is my favourite, which is lilac. A lot of people, I know lilac's meant to be unlucky in houses, but how can anything that smells that fantastic be unlucky? What I do with lilac is I cut all the leaf off, and the reason why is that big leaves, woody stems, and all of that is going to take a lot of water from the poor flower head. Now, what I did with this one again is I cut it in an angle and I put it in near enough boiling water just for 5 seconds. The old wives' tale of crushing stems doesn't work. Well, it does work in that it creates a wide area for water to come up and make it easier for water to come up. But what it also does is creates a mushy mess that bacteria can get in. So I much prefer cut it in an angle and popping it in. Take all that foliage off, just drop the spoon. Oh, I don't think he likes me, Drizzle. Right, so I say the flower food shouldn't help make the lilac last. That's going to take a bit more foliage off this. Next thing I'm going to add is one of my favourites. Most gardens have this catmint, Nepeta. Lasts really, really well. This, when I cut it from the garden, just cut it at an angle and put it straight in water. Now it does really, really well. Try, if you can, try and cut flowers first thing in the morning. And the reason why is because the flower's got the most amount of water towards its heads at that point. Turn it around so you can see where we are with that. Also a bit more, oh, nice that. A little bit more of a different type of lilac. Strip those stems. I might leave a little bit more leaf on that because it's got a smaller head. There we are. So making sure it's all in water. A bit of euphorbia. Now be careful because this can be really itchy on your skin. I've got hands as hard as nails, but they can be really, you know, kind of a lot of people are allergic to it. Now what I do with euphorbia, like lilac, when I cut it from the garden, I cut it, put the stems in boiling water, about 5 seconds to sear it a bit, and then put it in water. And the reason why is because it produces like a latex sap, which doesn't last particularly well. So, and can affect the other flowers. Let's go and do that again for that one there. Let's go and pop you into that corner there. Now then, what I'm going to add next is cow parsley. Now I love something called ami, dill basically. I tend to buy that. You can grow it really easy in the garden, but mine isn't up yet. But cow parsley had a very similar feel to it. Very similar head shape. And once again, cut it in the morning. Leave it in water, big bucket of water for a bit, let it rehydrate, and then use it for your arrangement. So I'm going to pop some cow parsley in there. Just put a little bit there, and then into the mix. I love this, really love this. This is sage. Sage from the garden, so it smells fantastic. But as well as that, it's got a really, really pretty flower head. So pop a little bit of sage in there, and it just, I'm going to put this in my sitting room, and so I'll be able to smell all that lovely lilac-y, sagey, fennel-y gorgeousness. Now you must excuse my hair colour. I look a little bit of a cross between Janet Street Porter on a bad day and a barmaid from EastEnders. It was meant to be purple, but it kind of ended up not the way I anticipated. So I'm hoping I'll be able to get it sorted out before the end of lockdown, or I'll be frightening my lovely customers. Yeah, a bit of sage. It's got such a pretty flower. Spin you around a bit, and then I don't have to use everything, but I tend to anyway. Let's put a bit more sage in there. The last thing I'm going to pop in are some of the last of my tulips. Once again, cut them early, stick them in water. Remember, these grow high. Once they've been cut, they'll continue to grow in a vase. So I tend to put them in initially quite low. Squeeze you in. That cockerel of mine, so naughty. I'm trying to keep my voice down so it doesn't hear. Just going to pop you in there. Another one there. Michael. That's my Jack Russell. Right. And then, just because I love it, a little bit of fern. Strip the leaves off. Pop you in where the handle is. There we go. A little bit of a tweak. I'm going to put a little bit of honeysuckle in. I find this does all right. I tend to, because it's a woody stem, I tend to cut warm boiling water in water and then use. Just going to recut that stem so it's nice and clean. And I absolutely love orange and purple together because they're the opposite side of the colour wheel. So a little bit of orange in with purples and greens all of a sudden lightens everything up. Oh, there it is. I knew I had some more. Didn't see that bit. Just going to cut you, take some of that foliage off, recut the stem. There we go, so everything is in there. So it's a bit wild, a bit woolly. The sellotape has acted as a frame to hold it all in, and literally everything's come out of the garden.